Hi, and thank you for joining me. And here today, I'm going to talk about the history of the metaphysical anatomy technique and how it started, as well as what to expect at the live Level 2 Advanced Practitioner live events. Just to start with here today is I'm a life coach, I'm a trauma release practitioner, I'm an author, and I have been to almost more than 51 countries worldwide teaching, and I've worked with more than 6,000 people one-on-one, and I am so excited to share with you my research, especially my latest research and my experiences and everything that I documented in my books, as well as the information that is not in my books. Hence why I created that 5-day course. It is to help you, to show you how to connect with the body and how to understand ailments and psychosomatic patterns and challenges that you might have, as well as psychological and emotional challenges that you have in your life. So I also wrote a book called Metaphysical Anatomy, and it is an 800-page book, and it's about 679 medical conditions as well as psychosomatic patterns behind that. And what makes it even more powerful is that I wrote key points that you can look at how to start your emotional journey with, especially if you're looking at just improving your own quality of life. Or if you are also an alternative therapist or a doctor or psychologist, it doesn't matter. It's going to give you a very strong starting point as to how you can start to improve your quality of life from this ailment or emotional challenge or even physical pain that you have in your body. Because ultimately, if your body is in discomfort, that discomfort is a call to action. That's your body saying, hey, let's look at what is happening here, because there is something that is bottled up that needs to be released. And the fun part about what I teach in my work and what I learn is that when something needs to be released, it doesn't have to be painful. You don't have to relive it. It can be very gentle. And that is by understanding how the body stores trauma and how to unlock blocked trauma cycles that's been stuck for many, many years, even generations from your ancestors, that's been genetically passed down to you, because ultimately you are an expression of your ancestors. So there's cellular memories and aspects of them that is also within you. And how to recognize, even just to bring a little bit more fun into this, how to also recognize whether you're having your own experience or whether you're having an experience or a memory from mom or dad or from an ancestor, whether there's a memory that's coming from the time when you were in the womb or even at your conception. Whatever emotional stress it is that you have or that's being expressed in your body, I'm going to show you powerful tools how to recognize it, know what it is, and most importantly of all, how to address it. So what I will be teaching you is a lot of amazing research that I've been doing over the past more than 10 years. And after having traveled and taught in more than 51 countries and worked with more than 6,000 people one-on-one, and what I learned during my research, everything I compiled into Volume 1, Metaphysical Anatomy. And because I really wanted to share these great discoveries that I've made. And along with the discoveries that I made, I started developing a healing technique as well, because what I realized is that I'm only seeing problems. I'm only hearing people coming to me with blocks and with challenges. And it's one thing to have awareness of a problem, because awareness of a problem is a problem half solved. But then what do we do with the other 50%? That is when the healing technique comes in. That is when we work on the unresolved pain that we have, whether it's conscious, subconscious, from our ancestry, on a cellular memory and level. So what I learned with my research was that it was interesting, because one thing that I noticed that really stood out was that people from different countries and parts of the world would share the same collective trauma or challenge or belief system that suffered, for example, from arthritis or from cancer or from back problems, depending on where the back problem was. But one thing, even though they were geographically different places, different experiences, they all shared one thing in common, and that was that the foundational cause of their ailment was the same. And that is when I started discovering, wow, so there is a genetic blueprint that we all share as a human race, despite where we are from and from which country and what experiences we had and what our ancestors went through and where they're from. And with that knowledge, I started bringing in together a technique from what I've learned from different people, different parts of the world. And ultimately, it was a technique that I designed and developed for myself to improve my own quality of life, because of my own place of stuckness. Because that's also, of course, why we all become into this, why we get involved with personal developments, because it's a part of your life that's not working for you, and you become to that awareness and realization, and that you are ready to make a change. So within that desire and that passion within me to try and change my life, because ultimately nothing, quite frankly, in my life was working for me. Not my career, my relationship with myself was non-existent, and my past was just this cloud, this burden over me, and it was time to change. So I started working on myself, and I developed this technique that started giving me results, and I got so excited that I wanted to share with these people, that I started seeing these intuitive patterns with, and who were suffering and struggling with these challenges. And so I started, I rolled it out, and I started seeing clients. I said, hey, let's try this, let's see how it works for you. And I started to learn and notice that this technique also worked for them. And the pattern that I noticed with this technique was that it's because there's specific points in the body that you address, regardless of what your issue is, regardless of the ailment, whether it's pain or whether it's motion. But there's specific points in the body that you tap into, and it helps the body to release the ailment or the psychosomatic problem, the emotional stress or the trauma. Because ultimately, also what I learned in the research is that you don't have to relive an old memory or a traumatic memory, or you don't even have to know what the root cause is in order to improve your quality of life from that ailment or emotional, psychological challenge it is that you have. People think that, oh my goodness, I'm not intuitive, I can't do it. I need to be able to see what's happening in the body. How can I help someone, or even yourself, if you want to become your own practitioner? Perfect. This course is still for you. And sitting there and coming and thinking, I can't do this. I can't see anything. I can't hear anything. I can't sense anything. And if that's you, and if you can relate to that, then you should come even more. This course is then for you, because it is going to open up your intuition. We're going to do so many exercises of where we're going to practice the intuition and opening it up. And I promise you, if there's one major thing that you're going to walk away, that is the third eye that is going to be wide open. And you're also going to learn how to interpret your intuition, because it's one thing to learn to start being intuitive, but then you start getting all these messages, you start seeing things that you never used to see, or you start to sense things that you never used to sense, but you don't know how to interpret that. And during the course, I'm also going to teach you how to do that, because when you connect to the body will always respond. It's just a matter of being open to how the body responds, because sometimes we're so conditioned and controlled, thinking, I should be looking for this, I should be expecting that to come forward, instead of actually allowing yourself to be playful and to let whatever needs to come forward, come forward. So, and there we're going to learn how to play again, because with healing work as well, because it can sometimes be a very heavy topic. We deal with problems, we deal with challenges. There we learn to be more playful, to be more open to receiving information, because the more open you are, the more the RAS, the reticular activating system in the mind, the frontal cortex, allows more information to come into your body, to come into the mind, and to be compared with the unconscious mind as well, with memories that you have, because that ultimately can help your body to show you messages through symbols. You might sense things, you might see images as a video clip. It can come forward in any way. Some people actually learn that they're clairaudient, and they never knew that they were. So it's just, and only because they change their perspective and the way that they connect, allowing information to come through more playfully. So if you think that you know and understand yourself and how you can show up in a session, even if it's for yourself, think again, because this is going to completely burst open your intuition. And I'm really, really excited to teach you powerful techniques as well, how to stay focused, especially during a healing session, because most of the time when we lose focus, I'm sure that you've noticed, that is when the healing session starts to become more challenging, it becomes more difficult. So I'm gonna teach you how to stay focused in a very gentle way, without making you feel like pressure, like you have to be a perfect student now, you have a client in front of you, or even if you're working with yourself, especially when you're working with yourself actually, because that is when we sabotage the most, right? The moment the emotion comes up, oh, that bag of laundry looks so great right now, I might go wash the laundry, I might go wash the dishes instead. right? I'm sure that you can relate to that. That was absolutely, most definitely me as well. So learning to stay focused is incredibly important. Like if I tell you right now, don't think about a blue tree, I'm sure that that is exactly what you just thought about. So it's about mastering and controlling that part of your mind to stay completely focused in the healing session, because your focus and your intention is what drives a session. Your intention and what you want the other person's body to do, or your body to do, is what's going to be, that is what's going to be the foundation of the session, and determine your successful outcome of the session, because ultimately the body always responds. And here's why. I'm sure that you've probably seen someone sitting somewhere and you couldn't see their face, but you could just feel and sense that this person was either upset, depressed, or sad. You just knew. Even though there was no evidence proving that, you knew. And that's because your body and that person's body was communicating. There was a communication taking place on a cellular level, and your body responded. Now, imagine if you can take that same level of intention where that person was focusing on maybe something that would happen to them that day, or they were focusing something from the past. Imagine if you take that same amount of focus and up your game by really zoning in on a positive emotion and a positive intention that, for example, could be healing and bringing joy and peace and releasing. That person's body, whoever you're connecting to, they are going to respond. It's just a matter of you staying fully connected to that intention and to that focus until the other person's body starts to realize, wow, yes, let's do this, let's release, there's an intention being held here, and I recognize that. Because the reason why your body is recognizing that is because your body knows how to heal itself. That beautiful natural healing ability has just been suppressed. And now it's a matter of kick-starting, reigniting that beautiful aspect and essence of within you to start that healing process again. And also by knowing and understanding as the practitioner in MAT where and how the body stores trauma, and bringing your focus and intention to those aspects and allowing the body to respond. It's this beautiful dominoes effect that just starts to release in the body. And it's a beautiful and wonderful and gentle process. Now, where do we connect and how does it work? I'm sure you'll probably be asking that right now. So this is the beautiful aspect of what I love about MAT, and this is part of the blueprint aspect that's the same for all of us. We work with MAT, we work with the limbic system, which is the long-term emotional memory where we store emotions. And that's also the place where neuroplasticity takes place, neurogenesis, meaning when new neural pathways are formed once a traumatic incident and memory has been released. The right chemical is being released as well. And during MAT, we actually prompt the body to go into that perfect state in order for the mind to release that perfect recipe of chemicals to create and start new neural pathways to grow. So ultimately, we connect to the limbic system. We work with the amygdala, which is also connected to the limbic system, which is the panic button. That's the irrational side and part of us that sometimes reacts or wants to react to a situation that's stressful or traumatic, where there's no rational thought involved at all. So we connect to that part as well. It's almost like the inner 4-year-old. And then we also connect to the reptilian mind, which is our instinctive responses. Now, instinctive responses is most important because that's the reason why you're here with me today. Being able to hear what I'm saying and you're alive is because of your instinctive responses. It's your body's job. It's your body's full responsibility to keep you alive. And it's reliant on the instinctive responses in order to keep you alive. Now, what happens is that when we are in a situation that threatens us and an instinctive response is triggered, we also have an emotional response. So the reptilian mind and the limbic system are best friends. They always go together. If an emotion is triggered, an instinctive response will be triggered because of old associations that were made with certain circumstances and emotional reactions that's connected to that instinct. And it can be vice versa. So ultimately, what we want to do is bring a healthy balance between emotions and instincts again. And I will teach you how to easily do that in the MAT process. Then we also work with the midbrain, especially when we work with people that struggle with physical pain, chronic pain, pain as a result of an injury, and the pain doesn't want to go away. We also work with the midbrain, which regulates and modulates pain, amongst many other responsibilities that it has, but for this purpose we only use it for when we work with pain. We also work with the spine, the vertebrae, which is where we actually store ancestral values and traumas and belief systems. We'll be working with the nervous system. You'll be working with the master cell, also learning how when we have different emotional stresses and issues, how we can use the master cell to bring in faster healing, how to bring in faster relief and transformation. So very excited. I'll be teaching you how to work with past lives within 5 minutes. Instead of working on it for an hour or 2 hours, there is a shorter way to work with past lives, especially if you know biologically in the master cell where it is. So many amazing and wonderful fun things are going to be taught during that course. And we'll be also teaching you how to work with the womb. And if you're a man, don't worry, we're not talking about yours. We're talking about when you were in your mom's womb. Because there is a huge identity overlap between you and your mother and what she's experiencing in her environment, right? Because in my research, I found 4 or 5 years ago that the placenta is not a barrier between the mother and the child, which medically people have believed to be so, and it's not. So now I finally found the research that's been done just recently, proving now that the protein cells in the lining of the placenta absorbs the mother's stress as early as after 12 to 10 weeks after conception. So that was a really wonderful breakthrough for me to finally find that people are starting to open up to this amazing information that we all have known for a very long time that does exist. So we'll be working on the identity overlap because a lot of ailments, a lot of emotional, psychological disorders are also triggered during the womb stages, depending on your predisposition and your sensitivity to certain emotions and ailments that can get triggered in the womb, and then as well escalating in your life as you start to mature. We will be, gosh, there's so many other things that we'll be looking at as well. We'll be looking at trauma transfer as well, aspects where you took on, pain points from mom and dad. We'll be looking at soul copies. Let me just backtrack there quickly for 1 minute. Trauma transfer takes place especially most strongest when you are genetically connected to someone because of the cellular memory, then the genes that are connected. There's a very strong communication channel taking place there. And even though the person is geographically perhaps on the other side of the world, it doesn't matter. So if the recipe for the predispositions that you're feeling and that someone else is feeling is in the correct alignment and frequency match, there is a part of that can be transferred to you, and you can be acting out and feeling emotions that doesn't even belong to you. So here you are trying to adapt to an emotional state of mind, a way of life that's not even yours. So we'll also be working with soul copies. We'll be looking at, aspects with people that you were either really good friends with or people that you had a traumatic experience with. There could be certain aspects of people's characteristics and personality traits that you can take on. So we will be looking at that and aspects of that that's influencing you and how to easily release that. And another fun part, this is one of my favorites. I'll be teaching you how to actually work with the brain apart from the reptilian mind, the midbrain, and the limbic system. I'll be teaching you as well how to work with the computation neurons, which is in the frontal lobes. So if you think that you're not psychic, think again. I'm going to teach you how to work with these beautiful neural pathways to help you to connect to either your client or to yourself to find what are certain aspects or issues within this person that's bothering them. If you don't know say for example, the person says, I feel something, but I don't know what it is. I can't really connect to it. I'm going to teach you how to work with the computation neurons, the mirror neurons, and different parts of the brain as well, how to tap into that to find what the answer is. And then to share that with the client and even with yourself. There's a beautiful way to, in a fun, healthy way, to bypass any numbness or blocks that you have by just knowing and understanding where and how to connect to your body and your mind. Because ultimately, if you connect to the right areas and you can communicate with the body, it will respond. The body is so willing to work with you. It's just that the body doesn't speak English, or it doesn't speak your native language. The body has its own way of communicating, and it's up to us to be completely open to receiving that information, completely detached without expecting anything specific to come forward. That's where the magic is, and that's where the magic happens as well. And also, just as another powerful part of the metaphysical anatomy course is the disconnection process. Now, this process is extremely powerful. So what I also teach in the course for this process is that if you're genetically connected to someone and you disconnect from them, it's not that they're going to leave your life. The connection between you will just get better. It will harmonize. And also, if you do the disconnection process with someone that you're not genetically connected to, if you still have a contract with that person, they will remain in your life until the contract is complete. However, it will harmonize your connection with that person. But if your contract with that person is complete and you are still holding on to them and you do the disconnection process, they are going to leave your life whether you like it or not. So this is a really beautiful way to disconnect from someone, but also disconnect from feeling people's emotions. So here is another tool and aspect as to how you can emotionally and psychologically protect yourself from not having to feel other people's stuff, but it also comes with a different plot twist. But in MAT, I will also teach you how to not feel other people's emotions, and most importantly of all, it is to recognize the difference between your emotions and someone else's emotions, especially if you're doing a session with a client, or if you're just sitting there and you had a bad argument with someone and you're not sure, are you feeling their anger, or are you feeling your own anger, or are you feeling their sadness or your sadness? So I'm going to teach you very clear guidelines how to easily and very effortlessly distinguish the difference between your sense of self and someone else's emotions and experiences. Okay, and also, if you are, for example, a massage therapist, perfect, because now here you're going to learn, along with Metaphysical Anatomy Volume 1, which is the 679 medical ailments that I wrote about, and that includes muscle pain, it includes tension in the back, the spine, the fingers, the toes, everything about the body and the anatomy. So here's, if you have a client coming to you with a problem, or with back pain, or with leg pain, and you're doing a massage therapy session with them and the pain doesn't want to go away, you can look at the book, or with the tools that I taught that you will learn in the Metaphysical Anatomy Technique course, you can instantly tell that person or your client what the emotional stress is behind the pain. And then what you can do is you can work on an MAT session with them to release the emotional pain and stress, and then do the massage therapy as an integration process. I have so many massage therapists using Metaphysical Anatomy Technique as part of their practices. And Metaphysical Anatomy and the research and the Volume 1 is also being used in many reflexology and kinesiology universities as part of their curriculums. Because even as a kinesiologist, if you have a client with whatever stress or issue it is that they have, just by hearing what the problem is, you will already know, or by looking at Volume 1, what the emotional stress or issue is. And then you will know what you can, which is the next avenue to go with them. So if you would like to do distance sessions with clients on Skype, perfect. This technique is going to just up your game. It's going to broaden, widen up your audience worldwide. Also, if you are a hypnotherapist, this is fantastic and perfect for you as well, because here you're going to instantly understand without having to regress someone to, to whatever point or place it is that they need to go to within a few seconds. You will know what the person's block is or what the issue is and how to help them with that. And then you can blend MAT into your practice with that as well, and to help them to release the trauma or the stress or the memory within a few seconds. And also, if you're a psychologist, psychotherapist, if you're a meditation mentor, this is going to completely up your game, 100% up your game. Sessions that perhaps took you 2, 3, 4 hours, or 5, 6 sessions, can now actually be brought into 60 minutes. You can greatly improve the speed and the quality of your sessions by going deep, effortlessly, without having your client to relive the trauma, and without having to even talk about it if they don't want to talk about it. Perfect. This technique is then still for you, because Metaphysical Anatomy Technique is designed for a client that has, for example, experienced something traumatic. And this is actually, and this specific aspect of the technique actually came to be birthed because of an experience that I had that was very traumatic, and I was so triggered that I shut down completely, and I didn't want to talk about it. But because of the technique, and I gave the instructions to a friend, and I said, can you just take me through this process, because I'm stuck. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go there anymore. I'm in emotional and psychological pain. Just end this. And so she followed the steps, and I didn't have to talk about it. And within 10 minutes, it's like nothing happened. My body completed the trauma cycle very gently, and my life went back to normal. And that's also why I'm so incredibly passionate about MAT, is that it can also help the audience and the people that don't want to talk about their problems. You know, the people that people would push away on the side, sitting them on the shelf saying, I don't know how to help you. There is no problems for me. I only see solutions. Because ultimately there's an opposite polarity to everything in life. Where there's light, there's darkness. Where there's sadness, there's joy. So if there's a problem, there's a solution. So in metaphysical anatomy, you will find that whenever you hit a problem, I'm going to teach you so many tools that you will only see solutions. Because with that state of mind and that intention, going with that confidently into a session, again, the other person's body is just going to respond to that. So ultimately, that person's body is going to continuously keep showing you solutions and prompting you to find more solutions. And MAT is going to be just that for you. Your toolbox is going to be so full of tools and solutions that you are going to feel 100% confident, whether you are your own practitioner or whether you want to become an MAT practitioner or whether you just want to up your own game and add this to your modality and to your practice. I also wrote another book called Metaphysical Anatomy Technique, which is volume 2. And that book is the little sister of Metaphysical Anatomy volume 1, the one with the 679 medical ailments. And in that book in volume 2, I teach you the level 1 technique for metaphysical anatomy. There you can go through the process if you're eager to start improving your quality of life and knowing and understanding how to work with the body. Volume 1 and volume 2 are beautiful positive aspects that complement each other. And I also have a level 1 online healing course that you can also go through. And once you've gone through that, you actually are now birthed into the metaphysical anatomy community. I will host every second week we'll be hosting live Q&A calls where I will be supporting you if you have any questions about your own healing journey, or you have questions about being a practitioner, you have a client and you feel stuck. I support you 100% all the way. A lot of modalities gives you a technique and then they walk away. We don't, we stay. So you will also be added to a fun WhatsApp group where students will be interacting. I'm also interactive there, so you can interact there with me. So there's always day-to-day continuous support available. Because level 1 is the starting point for learning the full foundation of metaphysical anatomy, because it goes very deep into the genes. We go very deep into the mind, the body, the conscious mind, and the unconscious mind as well. And another powerful course that I also have that I normally host in Bali, in the tropical paradise island, is called Heal the Woman Within. And you can find out more by going to www.healthewomanwithin.com. In this course, it's a 6-day, beautifully, deeply intensive healing course where I work with a group of women and we go through our identity, healing boundaries, healing relationship with ourselves, with mom and with dad, with ex-partners, even with the current partner. We will be addressing our sexuality, our ability to communicate, and it's ultimately bringing in together these 6 days is to restore our sense of self as a woman, and most importantly of all is to gracefully and gently step back into that, not having to fight for it anymore, because ultimately as a woman and the movement, that beautiful transformational wave that is taking place in the world right now, is that we don't have to fight for something that is already divinely ours. It's now a matter of just reclaiming that. And during this course in Bali, I'm going to show you how to do that. You will not leave that island the same person. And I'm very excited. You can go to my website, have a look at the interviews that I've done there. You'll see the full layout of the course as well. And of course, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to email me. I also have a book that's called Healing Your Boundaries, Finding Peace Again. And this book was designed based on my own experiences and experiences that I learned from clients that went through turbulent times, that has a fear to say no, and people that don't even know what their boundaries are. And here's the thing, if you don't know what your boundaries are, how are you going to express that? How is someone going to react and respond to you if they don't feel or see or sense or hear you communicating clear lines and clear boundaries? Now, there's also an online healing course there to help you with your process. So if you have blocks with that, I would highly recommend that you join the Healing Your Boundaries, Finding Your Peace Again online healing course, because there you will work through the blocks that is stopping you from reclaiming boundaries. Because boundaries is a divine right that you were born with. It is because of childhood experiences and conditioning that's made us to believe that we're not allowed to have boundaries and to express it. And during that course, you're going to release the blocks very gently and establish what your boundaries are, because if you know what they are, you can express them. So that course is going to help you to completely redefine your definition of what boundaries are. And I am so excited to connect with you soon. And also, if you have any questions, then again, no problem. Email us, we will happily answer it for you. And until next time, be the light that you are.